We'll have a couple lesson demonstrations right now. I think this may be more applicable than actually calling it a master class, because I think hopefully at the end of each session with the students, the idea is to have them sounding better than when they came in. So hopefully we will be able to do that. Matthias Weil is our first performer, and you are performing You and I by, who's that? Springer?
Giroux.
I'm sorry, who?
Tom Giroux.
Oh, Tom Giroux's piece, You and I. Come on, I'll just sit over here. Probably going to stand most so that they can pick up my voice on the mic. Matthias, that was a very sensitive performance. And I like the way you connect from one passage to the next. But I think there's some really interesting things you can do to make it really sing out more. What does this piece mean to you?
It's kind of like a sad piece with all the legato and the pedal. It's like I love the crescendos and then the diminuendos into very quiet parts. That brings out a lot of meaning in the song.
Okay. I'm going to add, you said sort of sad. I want you to think of it in different terms because I think it's going to help you to play this very differently. I wouldn't use the word sad. I would use the word reflective. Reminiscence. Thinking more of a good time with someone that's sort of in the past. Maybe it's a little sad, maybe just a touch of sadness, but mostly positive thoughts. Mm-hmm. And with that, I want you to try. We're going to try one thing first because it's going to be easier for me to explain this in terms of voicing. Do you talk about voicing?
Yes.
Music? Okay. I need to hear more musical line. It needs to sing more. And we're going to go here to this part right here because that'll be easier. It's just one hand versus the other. Okay, good. Now, so I'm going to do something, and it's a little... I see what you're following here is you have this mezzo forte, and then the A comes out sort of in the diminuendo, I'm going to recommend something different. And I'll show you what I mean. What did I do differently there?
You kept the high notes more accented instead of making them quieter with the left hand.
Yeah, I don't know that I would say accent, but more sound. And where did I put the diminuendo there?
Right after the G.
Yeah, I let the G be a little less than the A. So if you were singing this, let's say you were, and you had to go for a high A, I don't know if do you sing tenor or do you sing at all?
I don't sing at all.
Okay. Well, if you were a singer and you're a tenor or a soprano and you're going to go for a high A, you're going to use more energy to get the dee-da-dum, and I'm not going to sing because my students tell me not to sing. But go for that. And now think of that when you play. We were talking about overtones and all of those things. If we just play bass lines here. And we're not going to worry about the left hand right now. Can you do that for me?
Okay. So just right hand?
And the
then
very,
first note,
just
okay.
one note in the bass. Okay, and if you can play that a little softer than that.
Okay.
And I think we need more of the A and then to the G. Okay, now okay, good. Now, one of the reasons we have to play that A a little louder is we're losing the G. So you don't want to get too soft there. Now, let's go back to the beginning. This is a challenging piece because we have at the beginning and it says, what's the dynamic marking?
Pianissimo.
Pianissimo. So our challenge is we have to start it loud enough so that it can be heard. So really what I would think more is think of your dynamics in relative terms and not so much like it has to be as soft as I can play it because we're not quite hearing it. Can you play that for me? Play out the right hand more and it'll be okay. Now, I'm going to show you a little trick on some of this stuff and in terms of voicing. And you may have done this already, but what I like to do is when I play the two notes together, I'll play the top one first and the second one's pianissimo. And I'll make it ugly in terms of exaggerating. So it'll be like... Bring it out a lot. And play, we're going to break the rhythm. Da, da,
Okay, so
dee,
just the
dum.
top note.
And then play the bottom note soft. That's it. That, like that.
Okay.
Good. Now the next trick is as we play it that way, we're going to let go of the bottom note, but we're going to play it, and we're going to do it out of rhythm again, sort of like this. Playing at Forte.
Okay. Like,
Okay, now, of course, we're not going to actually play it that way
Yeah.
because it's very unmusical. what we're doing is we're trying to train our hand to put the weight on the note that you want to hear the most.
Mm-hmm.
Now, just play it the way it's written.
With left hand?
Yeah. Okay, good. Now can you connect the pedal a little better?
Okay.
Okay, I think that, can you hear the melody better out there? I think it's working. So now, this is probably very uncomfortable for you.
It's a little different.
It's different, but it's a little exercise that you can do. And then, when you get really good at it, you just see a chord like this, and you play it, you voice right away. And then it's easier to shape your phrases. So now, we sort of talked about all these overtones and which notes we want to bring. One of the things I had mentioned that the amplitude, bigger sound waves, we have to use a little more energy on one note to the next. Now this is the hardest thing about playing the piano, is getting the right fingers to play the right note at the right pitch, at the right level, everything all at once, because it's like, boy, talk about multitasking in one finger. That's a lot. Can we just try that? And what I want you to do is we're going to just play a little further into the piece and play the first page and see how just thinking more of one thing, reminiscing, and happy thoughts versus sad, and projecting the top line.
Okay.
So I think we're bringing out the voices a little better. Now what we need to do is, if you're reflecting on any sort of thought, usually have little pauses in the music. And I think this is written so beautifully, and that's why I wanted to throw in the word reflection. There are all these fermatas, and there are all these places and opportunities to sort of throw in a new idea. This is where we get down here in the lyrical part is where it's sort of the longest lasting idea. But I want you to listen carefully to how I'm playing just that top line and tell me how I'm playing it different than you.
You slowed down right before the fermata.
A little bit before the fermata. What else did I do?
You kept the bottom notes more quieter. Everything was mostly the same dynamic, like on the top notes.
So the one thing I really wanted to point out, maybe I didn't play it well enough, I took a breath there. You connect them. So you're going dee da da dum, ba da dee da da da, versus dee da da dum, da da dum. That's sort of where the singing helps. Okay, try that. And see if you can just, it's sort of like you're going to retake a breath.
Okay.
And then go on. Breathe. Okay, now I'm going to ask one other thing. Make sure you lift the pedal right there
Should I
so
lift
that
it
we hear.
before I breathe? Like right after
Right
the
on the
fraud
beat.
or before I breathe? Okay.
On the beat, because you're a little late.
Okay.
You want to make sure this cuts off. Let's try that again. Breathe. Breathe. Okay, now I'm going to ask you, and this is confusing. My students always get a little frustrated. Well, you just told me to take a breath there, and then I say, that's too big of a breath. So when you take your breath, it's dee dum bum da da dee da 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 da, not da da dee da da da. Okay, can you pick? It was lovely, actually. I like the way you ended the phrases. Just a little less. Try it again. Hold that longer. No. That one was perfect. Ritardando. Now breathe a little bit. Hold much longer. Now. Go to the A. Breathe. Breathe. Ah, the fermata.
Oh.
That's okay. That was lovely. I think, to me, that was a much more musical performance. Did you
Yeah.
sense that?
Lot
So you
different.
understand where I'm kind of going with this. This is like a lovely little piece. Do you know what? Read the instructions on the temp.
Very slow and hesitant with rubato.
Yeah. We need more of that.
Okay.
The slow part you've got, hesitant, I think, because of all those fermatas. And I think slowing down before the fermata is perfectly fine, even though it doesn't say ritardando. Here it's actually written with the ritardando, but we don't take that. These much longer,
Okay.
because it's 3 beats and a fermata. How long do you usually think of holding that?
I'd say like four beats, 5 beats about.
I would say a piece in this twice as long, 6 beats.
Okay.
And then, because it is rubato and it's needs to be very flexible. Play the first page again for me. Think of that. Think of being flexible and breathing and just singing.
Okay.
And these are quarter notes.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
kind of like to do half notes there. Did you
I
know
took the
that?
ritardando into there.
Well, what does this say, though?
A tempo.
What does that mean?
Back to normal speed.
Okay, so this should actually kind of be a little faster.
Yeah.
I would, so going that phrase before. Hold this really long. Breathe.
Okay.
Okay? There you go. That just finishes off the phrase. In working with my students, I often use the word finishing a phrase or breathing, ending a phrase. And phrases in melodic pieces, this is what a very melodic piece to me, should be tapered at the end, and just take your time. All the fermatas longer, take more time, reflect. Okay. Thank you so much. You did a great job.
Should we introduce the piece first? Or?
Oh, yes. Wanna?
Oh, I don't want to do it. Okay. I will be playing June from Tchaikovsky's Seasons. Cool, that's it.
Peter, that was good.
Thank you.
Actually, parts were so sensitive, and I really like the shaping of your phrases.
Yay.
My bigger concern would be consistency and some pedaling issues, especially when we get down here.
Yeah.
Can you just start with this part here? Remember, when you're playing the lower notes and they're melodic and you have to change the pedal either more frequently or not use it at all. And it's Tchaikovsky, so I think you're fine with using the pedal, but you have to change it a lot. Flutter it. Yeah, and actually, if you can give me a little more direction, play just the left hand there. Yeah, I think I would go more to that G. Let's see, I have my music here. Yeah, can you give me a little more of that low G? So as, if I can find the right page. And I think what I'm looking for is this. Go to that G a little. Yeah. Now, remember we were talking about overtone series before?
Yeah.
And so that's the low G that everything is going to kind of build on top of. And in a hall like this, it resonates a lot. So we want to hear sort of the higher tones. And we need a little more volume on that for that to happen. Can you try that? Yeah. Now, let's go into it hands together from wherever it's comfortable for you. I think you can hear then why the rest of it is playing the way it is.
Yeah.
If we miss that G, we kind of lose the setup for it. But that first one sets, and then you can come back. But that first G needs to be more pronounced.
Okay.
And so that's one thing. Toward the end, I probably should start from the beginning, but we're going to jump around and pick up a few things. I think this part, can you play those rolled chords for me? You can take them slowly. Or however you do.
Hold on.
Okay, that was much better than before. And are you keeping the pedal down the whole time?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Do you not want me to?
No, I do want you to. I think what you can do with that, though, is maybe put a little crescendo in it. And by that, and you get to, it says poco ritenuto, so you can slow down the last ones, keep the pedal down and let it crescendo, and maybe start it just a little bit under double forte, and crescendo to double forte. Try it again. It kind of wavered in the middle, but it's good. I think that has a sparkly, more sparkly sound, and I think it works for you. Now let's go into that from, can we see, and you can, if you want to reduce the tempo a little bit, yep, B, but keep it very rhythmic. Yep, bum, that was much more. Would you agree that was way more effective? Yeah, think of those things. And what we're doing, as we were talking about sound waves and production and keeping the pedal down, and as I was explaining, it helps that crescendo. And it's not so hard to do.
Okay.
Okay, and you can take your time on that a little more. Just a musical suggestion, and many times you're doing this, in fact, most of the time you are, your question and answer thing, can you just be a little more like you're having a conversation with someone?
Okay.
So you've got da-da-da-dee, the left hand, da-da-da-da, ba-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you connect those more like it's actually a conversation? Let's start from the beginning, please. Now, there's a little thing here that says espressivo. Can you stretch that on the second one? So you're da 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 dee da 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 ba da da dee da 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 da, and then take off and breathe. Okay, try that. Just to give it a little more flexibility. So when you play this, and when you think of it, think of a way you would conduct it yourself. In fact, you can even sing and conduct your own, whether you hit the pitches. I never hit the right pitches because my range is about like this. But you can sing it syllabically or rhythmically and do that, sort of like I did, because your playing just changed when I was doing that. So now what I want you to do is imagine what I did with my hands waving around and do it when you play.
Okay.
Can you do that?
Starting from the beginning?
Begin.
Okay.
That sounded more expressive to me.
Yeah.
Would you agree? Yes, you did a wonderful job. So those are my really major comments on here.
Okay.
And a lot of this is going back and forth. So the whole last page is where the voicing gets a little more complicated, and we talked about that. But now, let's see if we can play that and be as flexible. Where's a good spot? Can you start like that? Is that okay?
Yep.
Okay. And take it to the end. And what I want you to do is apply that same idea of rubato and voicing and singing and breathing that we did just now to that. pretty good. I think
I lose my spot in here all the time.
Yeah, I think what you do is you make life a little difficult for yourself by rushing these. And I think if anything, you can pull back more on those.
Okay.
Especially on there. But let's see. I did want to talk about. So we can get Dr. Pavy's session under control.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
And especially such last minute and being willing to go with shopping. So, I wanted to I'm going to take this off. In the conversation or the discussion today, talk a little bit about classical repertoire and the use of the pedal. And we'll probably take about 15 minutes to help set up the harpsichord when we're done. But right now I'm going to start with a piece that I find or has become very dear to my heart right now is the Mozart Adagio in B minor. It's not very frequently played. It's in sonata form. The Adagio is unique because it is what I would say harmonically much more progressive than you expect from Mozart. And it doesn't take long at all for him to start throwing in dissonant chords with a resolution. It is a later work by Mozart, and the first time I heard this, I thought, that I didn't know Beethoven wrote an Adagio or a slow movement like this. So I was trying to pinpoint it, and then I thought, it's actually the Mozart Adagio. And I've become very fond of this piece. So I'm just going to play a couple portions of it. And what I want to do is sort of explain how I'm using pedal in the dissonances, in the resolutions. So you use a lot of what I would call touch pedaling to help excite the overtones, make the chords rich, and then resolve them. And we also have to use a lot of care to make sure that we get our fortes and pianos. Now, in a piece like this, sometimes the easiest way to do the forte piano is just to put the pedal down on the forte and lift it on the piano side of the piece. It makes it a little easier to do, and I'll demonstrate the very first chord. So we're automatically, we've got this totally, I'm sorry, hit the wrong chord. Very dissonant chord, like on beat 3. And the resolution, B minor, F sharp major to dominant. So it is very effective. Now, it really helps to just on this, and I'll play a little further, but generally speaking, when I do the pedal on this, most of the pedaling I do is on the forte sections and just basically lifting on the pianos. And that's the opening exposition. I find that when I perform a piece like this, that what makes it different from Chopin, or what makes it so beautiful, is the clarity of the rests and the clarity of the pedaling. But we certainly are going to use a pedal on it because it's just too important and beautiful. Now, I'm going to jump to the end because this is like my favorite moment of the piece. After being in B minor, it's fairly melancholy, but I really take a lot of time in here, and a combination of time and pedaling, and I'm hoping I pull off the wow moment here, and hope you can catch it. So as we go through this whole very elaborate adagio, I just get chills every time I get to that B major chord. And I always take way too much time. I'm sure somebody will tell me I'm taking too much rubato on that, but I just have to wait for it. And the effect of that is, you know, forte here. That D sharp just is so cool. So I'm probably getting a little crazy about that because that piece, I love that so much. The point is the overtones that are excited by this. The balancing of the chordal structure is very important. One other piece I sort of wanted to talk about, if I may not have much time, but I'm just going to jump to a portion of the first movement of Beethoven 109. And I'm going to go to what is the recapitulation. This isn't sonata form, but a very romantic piece. And the title of this part, of this section of the piece, is Adagio Espressivo. So what's unique about this particular movement, though in sonata form, it has, the first theme is Vivace ma non troppo, and the second theme is Adagio Espressivo. So you're actually totally different mood. Amen. So in this case, you hear these beautiful arpeggios, and the pedal that just rings it, it just resonates so beautifully. Now, that particular section of the piece was the double forte, which is the loudest portion of the piece. I'm hoping I was able to tie the whole idea of listening in resonance in the morning session, so I hope you enjoyed it, and thank you very much.